Welcome back to Walsall Fan TV. The joy and the pain. We had the joy at the start of the season. The pain bit hard, but a win away at Crewe and a win away at Chesterfield as the joy returned. Got Phil Tooley here. Hi to Phil.
Hi, Simon.
You're right, mate. First, what was your thoughts on the game on Sunday?
I think Walsall were quite lucky to go away with a 2-goal lead. Chesterfield had the possession and the chances. Tommy Simpkin made some great saves as well, and we had some bad misses. Pepple near the end to have pulled it back to 2-1. We were undone a little bit. Liam Mandeville and Michael Olakigbe playing down our right-hand side weren't quite at the races. Olakigbe took that early booking, and that he was never in the game after that. And Mandeville, who's had a great time filling in at right back, but isn't a right back, was sold a bit short by young Olakigbe, who's on loan from Brentford, for the penalty. No arguments with the penalty, clear penalty. And then down the left-hand side, Liam Gordon. We've got a Lewis Gordon. I've got a mental block on them too. I always get the names wrong. Then you bring another Gordon on as well, just to make it more confusing. He got away down the left-hand side. Good pull back, and McFadzean's clearance could have gone anywhere. It could have shot out for a throw-in, but he went straight to Chang, who's not scored before, and he finished through a crowd, didn't he? So I think, on balance, I think 2-0 to Walsall was a much better scoreline than the balance of play suggested. But at the end of the day, Walsall and Wimbledon, who are both in the playoffs, are the two sides this season that have struck me as being the best teams. I'm not talking about week in, week out, but who play as a team. I struggled on Saturday, apart from Tommy Simpkin, brave soldier. All those injuries that he kept on getting, and he carried on right through to the end. What a brave soldier Simpkin is.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Him apart, you can look at the players that started and the ones that came on. There was nobody who shone, but everybody did the job. Tommy Williams was really tough at the back, right from the kickoff, ran into Will Grigg and let him know he was there. And everybody did the 7 out of 10s, didn't they? But there wasn't a match winner on Walsall's side, and there wasn't in the 3-1 win, and there wasn't in the 2-2 draw, apart from, of course, the lad who's back at Stoke now. So, who clearly was a big miss. But I was looking at the stats before the first match, and Walsall won 69% of games with Nathan Lowe, and before they played Chesterfield had won 39% or 29% or something without him. One man shouldn't make that much difference.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that was the big change, and the main reason where Walsall have sort of slipped off. Obviously, losing a striker like that is going to affect you, but it was the injury to George Hall and Jack Earing, who at the point, at initial look, I think, well, they weren't starters anyway, but they'd been coming off the bench last 25 minutes, maintaining the press, and we got a lot of goals in that last 25 minutes with them two coming on. And they got injured just before Nathan Lowe went back. Then we've got Jamil Matt, obviously a major part of our team. Well, he got injured 20-odd minutes in against Bradford, so then was missing for the Fleetwood game, and I think he was still missing for the Salford game as well. So the change to our run effectively happened when we got effectively 3 players out, and then Jamil Matt made 4 that had been sort of pivotal to what we're doing. So the one-man team, yes, I can understand people thinking that, but really it was 4 people taken out that sort of really sort of derailed us. And I think
and we were our bad run around Christmas time. Will Grigg was out. and he was out for 15 games, a block of 15 games, and we only picked up 17 points in those. So relegation form in the 15 that were, his critics, even Chesterfield supporters, who were still critical of him, and I don't know why. And of course, you'll know him well for Walsall. That's where he started. So he only scores tap-ins. Yeah, he does. But for 15 games, we didn't score any tap-ins. Yeah, he's the only one that's clever enough to find his way.
Isn't it? It's that finisher that you need. A lot of Walsall fans forever screaming for Danny Johnson to play. Danny Johnson's that kind of guy who knows where to be to finish chances. And whilst his overall play may not be that constructive, when there's a chance in the box, he's the guy that'll score it.
Yeah, and I pick up what you were saying about Hall, because in the first couple of minutes when Walsall won those first two corners in the first leg of the semi-final, Hall was instrumental in that, and his pace, I think, caught Chesterfield cold right at the beginning. So I was thinking, he's going to be a real danger man.
Yeah, we nearly scored first minute. George Hall, since he's been back, he's on loan from Birmingham City. And his first few games back, Birmingham said he can't play more than once a week. He can't play more than 30 minutes and that sort of stuff. So he was sort of being fed back in. And then initially people were like, well, he was brilliant on Saturday. Why hasn't he played? And another player, Alfie Chang, we had him on loan in January, but he wasn't fit. He'd been out for nearly 12 months and he wasn't fit. But he was close to fitness. So Walsall had to be really careful bringing him in. We had one game away to Gillingham where we really needed a goal. And last 10 minutes came on and he was awesome. He was absolutely awesome. And then he wasn't in the squad for the next game. And it was like, how the hell can he not? And then he disappeared from the squad for a few games. And I think it was maybe a little bit of a flare-up or something. But and in the last couple of games, he's starting to settle. Him and George Hall are both sort of starting to get that fitness together and starting to show the quality, because they are championship quality players. They're both.
Well, Chang's played a lot of games in the championship. You think of when you get players on loan from clubs like Birmingham down the road, that they'll be 19, like Nathan Lowe was, or whatever. But he's 22. He's played quite a few games in the championship. He knows his way around a football pitch.
Yeah, I think he's played. I think he's played about 20. I think, but George Hall played like 40 games in the championship the season before last. So there's great quality there now in the midfield, and we can't be too harsh on our other midfielders. Jamie Jellis, for example, it's his first season in the EFL.
Yeah.
So first season as a full-time professional, and he's played virtually every game.
Sturck's got a real good motor on him, hasn't he? He's a vital part of the press. He might not see as much as the ball as some of these guys, but he's vital on the press. I commented on Saturday just how many kilometres he must have covered, but not necessarily with the ball very often.
Yeah, the midfield do chase and harry. And I was talking on my fan reaction. Was talking to some guys outside of the stadium and Chesterfield fans as well, and they were talking about how poor Chesterfield had played. But I said, with Walsall, a big part of Walsall's game is stopping the opposition playing. And I think people think, Chesterfield had a particularly bad game, but that's because Walsall sort of got right tight to them and stopped them having the freedom to play. And
I think a lot of people said that because there were a lot of what we're normally very good at, the sort of 45, 50-yard crossfield Hollywood balls. There were a lot more of those that went straight into touch or just a little bit too high or whatever than normal. When the player wasn't necessarily being pressed, because Walsall pressed really well as a team. They had 20-minute breaks every now and again where they didn't press, and then all of a sudden there'll be the signal and they start again. But a lot of Chesterfield's decision making was poor. But your brain gets frazzled when there's somebody up your backside all the time, isn't there? Isn't it? So I do accept that Walsall were very much catalysts in playing in Chesterfield not playing as well as they can do, but a lot of Chesterfield's decisions were poor. Towards the end there were a couple of crosses into the box, and you think, well, there's so many men in the box, some Walsall men in the box, that you've got to take your shot first time rather than control it and have a look, because there'll be somebody on top of you before you know it. So decisions like that didn't go our way. The long Hollywood passes were less than normal, but the stats 600 odd passes with a 87% accuracy. Chesterfield did all right, but they just didn't penetrate enough. And when they did, Simpkin made 3 good saves. I'm not prepared to say whether he saved the one that hit the bar or not, because it looked as though it was a fingertip for me from the downward header. The downward header from Palmer that hit the bar and then came back down and hit the top of the bar. I think he might have just got a fingertip onto that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure about that one. I think the very first one, that was a really good save. That was a really good save.
I was right in line. With that, and that was going in, and it was a terrific save. That one, no question. And the one from the header from Naylor, and it was a more regulation one, the one later on. But
he got down to it, I guess. Yeah. The your guy Boot, that was a super save from Levi Mancher at the end.
Yeah.
Because if that had gone in, that would have been tie over, I think, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And Mancher got that third goal at virtually, well, I think it was 11 minutes into stoppage time down at the Bescott, wasn't it? Which was his first ever goal. And of course, he started as a 17-year-old at Chesterfield under Martin Allen. So, it would have been. But it was just, there's plenty of ferocity behind it, but it was just above his head like that, wasn't it? And if he'd have let that in, I think we'd have all been a little bit disappointed. And Boots had an in. Him and Max Thompson, who's on loan from Newcastle, have had half the games each. Boots probably just slightly more than half now.
Yeah.
And he's earned his place. He's been in the last month or two, and by right, but every now and again, and there were a few times in the first few minutes, his kicking lets him down a little bit. He gave one straight to somebody 30 yards out, didn't he? That could have been worse in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think both teams were a bit nervy early on, weren't they?
Yeah.
I was impressed with Alak Higby. I thought he would look good.
That's the worst game he's played for Chesterfield. That's the worst game he's played for Chesterfield.
But I think let me be clearer. I think he looked very dangerous.
Yeah, he can be. He can be unplayable.
Liam Gordon was going to get ripped apart by him at the start.
Yeah,
and Liam Gordon just helped with him. But I mean, I'd still be nervous of him second leg.
Yeah. Well, what he did wrong, young Michael, and he's a lovely lad. What he did wrong was dive in on that foul after not very many minutes, and I think it was Liam Gordon he took out, wasn't it? And we all felt later in the game that might have been a red. Not that it should make any difference, but it does tend to make a difference, doesn't it? These sort of things, and that subdued him. I think that really made him play within himself, and allowed Liam Gordon to get past him a few times. But he could be a danger man. That said, Simon, I'll be surprised if he starts on Friday.
I think he won't going to start. Who was the guy that went through Jamil Matt in the second minute, pretty much? Because how he didn't get a booking. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. I do know the one. Yeah. But we could talk about how they didn't get a booking lots of times. I think Mr. Coy was very reluctant to use the cards. The one that he did give was absolutely right, but certainly Tommy Williams could have had a few, and good old Tommy Simpkin could have had a few for time wasting as well. But he did.
Tommy Williams.
Second.
Harry Williams. It is not Tommy Williams.
Oh, sorry, Harry Williams, who is absolutely uncompromising, and with Taylor, it gives Taylor Allen particularly the opportunity to get forward quite a bit.
Yeah, he's more your traditional centre half, isn't he? Where Taylor Allen's got sort of more style and stuff to him. But it's a good team.
I like Taylor Allen.
It's a good team there. The thing to say with Tommy Simpkin, which made us laugh a little bit at Walsall, because that has gone on throughout the season, particularly early part of the season. But you know, all teams do it. All teams do
Well,
it.
we've 6 years in the National League. The first time we saw it done to excess was Boreham Wood. We were down at their place one time and absolutely running the roost. A lad called Joe Rowley was having a game of his life, and the manager there, Luke Garrett. It was Nathan Ashmore was goalkeeper, and he was he is an interesting character, let's say. And he went down one time, and all the players went to the bench. And to give Luke Garrett his due, at the end he said, "Yeah, we were being mullered. I just had to do something, so I told him to deliberately go down." So at least he admitted that he was cheating. But to me, my views are that if a goalkeeper, you can't take him off. I get that, you can't take him off, but you shouldn't be allowed to go en masse back to your technical area, your team. Let the other team go back, but not your team. And I think that would stop it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You say cheat, I'd call it just gamesmanship, really, I think. But I mean, we've had it done to us. I think I can imagine.
Of course, yeah.
If
I hope we're doing it. I hope we're doing it about 9:15, 9:45 on Friday.
Well, yeah, possibly. If I was going to say, if shoes on the other foot, I'm sure you do the same. The classic one, of course, is when you've got a throw in, is deliberately going too far and then getting pulled back by the ref.
Yes.
And then ended up taking it from the same place. But I mean, that's another one, more sort of more shielded sort of cheating thing or gamesmanship.
No, there's so many. We've learned an awful lot over the last few years, and the irony is, the further you go up the league, the better players do it even better. I think
they're just more stylish the way they do it. The classic one for me for sort of stalling time is the centre half who goes down the moment a striker goes anywhere near him.
Oh.
Yes.
Holding the head.
The amount of players we've seen holding the head. When Walsall were, like, obviously first half of the season was much more joy for us, and we were absolutely dominating teams. And the amount of teams where they got a player goes down holding his head when he's been kicked on the toe, sort of thing, and or somebody's brushed against him and he's holding his head, and the ref stopping play. But like even that one, one of your guys went down. Like, it was after the ball had gone, Walsall were in possession, and then the ref called it back for the injury. And it was like, oh, he's called it back for injury. Fair enough, he stopped it. And then we'd get the drop ball. But we didn't, to give you the free kick. And it's like, hang on. When did it become a free kick? But I mean, refs, we could talk about the
Well, I think he was looking at the advantage. He played the advantage a few times on Sunday, but you never quite could tell, you know. So, say the referee didn't cost us the match. The penalty was a penalty, and the shot through the crowd was a shot through the crowd, you know. So the referee had nothing to do with either of those. He didn't disallow any of our goals. He did not give us a penalty. We don't get penalties. We only had one penalty in the league all season, so we're used to that.
Walsall used to have probably about 3 penalties a season and miss them all. So, we found somebody now who can take a penalty and score, and that's Tyler Allen. So he gets some. We've got a centre forward on there, experienced centre forward Jamil Matt, but we move him out the way for Tyler Allen to take the penalties.
If I were Matt Sadler, Jamil Matt might not necessarily be one of my top 5.
Well,
for penalties.
I think I understand what you're saying.
He likes scoring off his thigh and his shoulder and everything like that. But he makes opportunities for others, doesn't he?
I think
that way.
Well, this is perhaps a real big thing for Friday. He might not start on Friday, and that would be a big miss for Walsall, because we only look half the team when he's not playing.
Yeah. Oh, I get that. I absolutely get that.
Because he's
right. So who come in for him? Would you? Because I know in the Crew game he didn't start and Levi started, didn't he? So
Levi's not a guy who's going to lead the line. He's not. You can't knock a ball up to him to lead the line. Josh Gordon, maybe. The manager likes Josh Gordon, where most fans don't. So
well, let me just tell you. I don't know if you're into your trivia, Simon, but with Levy Armanci being a former Chesterfield player, I've always sort of kept a look. But he had when he moved up to Bromley, he'd been at Maidstone and everything. The first 6 senior goals he scored were in 6 different competitions.
How about that?
He scored in something like the National League South, the FA Trophy, National League North, something else.
First 6 senior goals,
all in different competitions. Yeah,
were all.
That's after he moved up from Blythe Spartans or something.
In different competitions.
Yeah. So FA Cup, League Cup, National League, League Two, National League South, and FA Trophy. I think something like that.
I do like to have a quiz occasionally. So for people who, for everybody who remembers, that's going to be in one of the quizzes. So
check it up because that's from memory, but it's right. It might be 5, it might be 6, but it's right. If you look up, you don't have to look up on.
Yeah, I'll have a look.
And of course, if it does get to a penalty shootout, and I take that right now, Walsall leading 1-0 on penalty shootouts against Chesterfield. I remember that FA Cup tie a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, down at the Bescott after a 0-0 in a replay, and Sammy Morsey, captain of Ipswich this season, missed for us. So 5-3 it was. So we didn't have to take off this penalty. Yeah. So 1-0 to Walsall on penalty shootouts. So, but that said, I've been watching Chesterfield at Walsall 25 plus times, must have been. And Friday will be the 50th time that Chesterfield have travelled to Bescott / Fellows Park.
Yeah.
In history, going back to 1899. And we've only ever won there by 2 clear goals once.
Oh.
And that was 94-95, 3-1. So we'd have got a penalty shootout. So 3-1, which was a season we went up via the playoffs.
Oh.
So you may remember one of our celebrations. It was a wet day, and Tony Lormer scored the second goal and did a swallow dive into the corner in front of the fans with all the water, bit Tom Finney-like, with all the water spraying up.
When was that then?
That'll have been 94-95 season.
94. I don't remember that.
So 3-1 win. So I was looking. We've won 10. We've won 10 times on your grass. 6 1-0s, 2 2-1s. A 3-2, which was the funniest day for a while. That was when Merson was player manager and we were 2-0 down and won 3-2.
Yeah.
And the look on Paul Merson's face when we turned that round was a joy to behold. And then that 3-1. So it's the only time we've ever won by 2 clear goals at Walsall. Was 94-95, and Chesterfield went up by the playoffs. But
obviously on Friday, the first goal is going to be important. And I suppose when the first goal goes in is the key. I think if Walsall score first, I think then that'll be pretty much over.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I think if Walsall score, I think that'll probably you just need a clean sheet, don't you, to have a chance? I think.
Yeah. We need a clean sheet. Realistically, we're not going to win 3-0. I don't think. So I think it's going to be 2-0. Might win 3-0 if there's extra time, but I don't think we'll win 3-0 in 90 minutes. I think Paul Cook will be wanting to get his team out the traps quickly, as I'm sure Matt Satter will want as well. But you're quite right. That first goal is pivotal in the whole tie. But Satter will be saying if Chesterfield get it, and if they get it early, well, Jamie Grimes scored early in the season after 5 minutes or whatever it was, and Walsall won 3-1. So it's certainly not over. And I've seen too many disappointing days at Walsall over the years to know that it's not a ground that you relish going to. It's been very even over the years. There's pretty similar amount of Chesterfield wins, Walsall wins, draws. It's never one to predict, but certainly in modern times they've always been pretty close.
Well, I think everything should balance up, and you've had a promotion last season, so I think it's our turn. What do you reckon?
Yeah, and we've never had back-to-back promotions ever in the history of the club. So most people this year we're hoping for top 10 playoffs. A lot of people thought playoffs minimum, but it's been a good season, bearing in mind the phenomenal injury list that we've had, predominantly with the defence. The back four that Paul Cook wanted to play with was a lad called Devon Tanton, who was on loan from Fulham, who had a few hamstring issues. Shea Dunkley, a man from down your neck of the woods, right centre back. Then a lad called Harvey Arujo, left centre back, also on loan from Fulham, and then Lewis Gordon at left back, who we signed from Bristol Rovers. And they managed to play together for 45 minutes in the entire season. The first half in a 3-0 away win at Doncaster. So we did win 3-0 away at Doncaster, and we beat Doncaster 5-2 at home. So on our day, we can beat anybody by a lot of goals. And there's no team in England has won by 3 or more clear goals more times this season than Chesterfield. So we've got the ammunition.
That's a very that's a strong reminder. I'm just going to
more than Liverpool, more than any other team in England. 10 or 11 times we won by 3 clear goals.
Somebody's put a comment here. Do you think we stand a chance of bottling the 2-0 lead? Walsall were 12 points clear at the top of the league, so we don't count anything until it's done. Paul Cook.
I don't think it'll be. I don't think if Chesterfield win, I'm certain it won't be a case of Walsall bottling it. It'll be a case that Paul Cook's got Chesterfield absolutely humming, and on our day we can beat anybody.
Yeah. Let's have a look at this one. Going to be a great night on Friday. Lots of action. 2 very good teams. I feel the 2-0 lead for Walsall will be the difference on the night. Yeah, I think it's.
I'll argue with that.
Yeah, that's it. That's Andrew. He's a popular guy on the channel. Levi's strike was straight at boot. He had to save that. That's a response to my earlier comment. I don't sort of keep up with the comments too quickly. Guy should have been sent off for foul on Jammer. Here we go. Dave Member. Hoping for another good game on Friday. Have you done your score predictions? We're going to do that in a minute.
Right, okay.
People are a bit nervous if we start with Josh Gordon up front, which I can understand, really.
If Josh Gordon, Liam Gordon, and Lewis Gordon starts, I'll predict Gordon's going to do all right.
The commentator's nightmare. I remember Steve Baines refereeing Walsall Chesterfield. I remember that as well, John Guttridge, because Steve Baines used to play for Walsall as a centre half. He went to reffing and then he reffed a Walsall game.
And he was Chesterfield's captain when we won the 1985 Division 4 Championship.
Also, the fact that he played for both maybe made it all right then.
Yeah, and he still lives at Chesterfield, and I still see him on a regular basis.
Oh, do you? Oh, nice.
Yeah. No, his daughter was in the same class as my daughter at school. That's many moons ago. But I still see Steve on a 4 or 5 times a year basis bumping to him. He comes to a few of the games at home. But he was a good referee. But I think because he knew how to speak to players, that made him popular. But I think it was when the authorities wanted refereeing to become a bit more robotic. The advantages that the characters had were trimmed away, and I don't think that suited Steve quite so much. But I always remember him for Walsall. I seem to think he scored for Walsall one time. But who was the other big centre half they had? I can remember in those sort of late 70s days. I remember him scoring an overhead kick it'll have been at Fellows Park, I'm sure. Centre half scoring an overhead kick, Walsall one. I ought to remember his name, but I can't.
I was not really that fresh at it then. I'd sort of joined the throng in '81, so I've sort of not too good on that. Not that my memory's as good as yours, I don't think. I'm glad that
I've done a bit of homework, Simon. Don't think it's all memory. The good thing is my memory's good enough to know where to look. I'm good at looking where we look.
I'm glad Dave's made this comment because it really did strike me on Sunday. What a lovely bunch of fans you've got. We had a nice chat with the guy on the way in. Had one guy at the pub. We're in the Donkey Derby, and a guy that he joined our live stream match preview, and he came out. He recognised me and came out. We had a chat. So that was Luca. That was nice to see him. And then after the game, there was just so many nice guys. We had a chat with loads of people. And then just as we were getting back to the Donkey Derby, this huge guy with a drink in his hand, looked well out of his head, came over, and he was just so polite and friendly. It was like it was awesome. So congratulations, Chesterfield, on such a lovely.
Well, that's good of David to say, and I'll tell you my opinion. Why, Simon? The community trust, Chesterfield FC, who acquired the club from an unpopular owner back in 2020, and have since moved it on to the majority ownership to a family of locals who are doing a great job and very, very popular. One of the things that they've done over the years is go into schools and have really good value ticket offers for people to get to the match. It's a nice ground. It's a nice atmosphere when you get in there. So we've now got squillions of kids. And the kids bring the mums, the dads, the grandmas, the granddads, their uncles, their aunties, whoever it might be. So we've got the highest proportion of youngsters that we've ever had in all my 50-odd years of supporting the team. Our crowds this season, bear in mind we're in level 4, old Division 4 old money, are our highest since 1971. Last year in the National League, they were the highest since 1972. We're not going to beat that because the 69-70 championship season have got an average that's higher than the capacity at the ground at the moment. So we're not going to beat that 71. But we've got 8,500 we've had. In 2020, pre-COVID, with an unpopular owner, we were getting 4,000. So we've doubled our crowd. The catalyst of that are kids. Kids have been coming in on this, like the experience. Because kids, when they come to a game, I know when I didn't give a damn whether Chesterfield won, drew, or lost. It was just about being there and being part of the
atmosphere,
part of the setup. So kids drag people along. They want to go along. And what the club does for kids is fantastic. Walsall's always been run on a tight string for years, in the Bonser days and with Roy Wally and everybody there have really looked after every penny really, really well. So, whilst Bonser might have sort of, when Fellows Park might have grabbed the ground, he's never been a over greedy sort of person, and Roy Wally made sure of that. And Walsall always used to have. I used to work for Tarmac, based in Wolverhampton, so I went to quite a few of the lunchtime things at Walsall. I can remember seeing John Conte there, the boxer, and everything. And they've always run the club really, really well for years. Never going berserk, never spending money they've not got. And Chesterfield are starting to do that now. It's been a hard transition from when you've got owners that are chucking money in just to keep afloat. But we've now got the basis. It's a little bit like when Lincoln went into the league and non-league, and then came back. They had that great run in the cup to play for against Arsenal, didn't they? And they re-emerged as a much stronger club, and we've done that. And we've emerged as a stronger club because we've got kids. We had 5,800 season ticket holders last season. We've sold over 5,000 for next season already.
That's good. So you're definitely upward trajectory. Obviously, we don't want to get promoted too quick.
No, I'll tell you what. You're not the first person that said that today, let alone in the last week or two. Our window cleaner came for his money today, Alan, and he's been a season ticket holder for the last 2 or 3 years. He's a Forest fan, but Forest priced themselves out of the market when they went into the Premier League, so he went with his mates. He's a Chesterfield lad, went with his mates, and he's a died in the wool season. And he said exactly that as I was handing my window cleaning money over. And the one thing with that is we've got 14, 15 players out of contract at the end of the season. And because it's been an extension, Cookie's keeping his powder dry, so we can have a clear out. But the trouble is, if you have a clear out, you've then got a new team that you've got to mould together. And Cookie likes continuity. So it would all take 12th place in League One next season.
Yeah, of course. The Yeah, Walsall have got like 13 players out of contract,
Yeah.
so it's a similar game for Walsall there. Ozzy's made a good comment here. Chesterfield won the Mouse by 3-0, but Walsall are still top scorers in the league.
Yes.
It's not very
Yeah.
often that Walsall don't get a goal.
No.
We've had 2 clean sheets on the bounce, but I mean, previous to that, we had been leaking some goals, but that seems to have tightened up. So that sort of makes it interesting.
We've only had a couple of 0-0s all season, and the first of those was our first 0-0 since 3 back beyonds ago when we drew 0-0 at Maidenhead United, which was a real good result because Maidenhead United were a real bogey side for us. We could never get the best of them. Alan Devonshire manager. So
it probably sounds a bit weird, but I feel more confident in Chesterfield winning by chasing a game than I would if we were heading to you with a first leg lead. Pressure's off, just go for it. That's Joe on there.
But we have been, Simon, under Paul Cook, a second half team. That's not a criticism, because what he does with the possession that we have, and we're generally well over 60% possession. First off, it's almost like you try and get the opposition chasing shadows. He left to rights, it gets a lot of work, and then in the second half, bring on fresh legs. Now in the National League, you could only bring on 3 substitutes, whereas in this league you can bring on 5. So it's harder to dominate as much in the second half with fresh legs because you can change half your outfield team, and so it's harder to do that. But we are a better second half team, so it'll be interesting with what that comment there is, whether they do come out and try and say, well, let's spend everything we've got in the first half. Perhaps play Jack Sparks at left back, who isn't as good a defender as Lewis Gordon, but my word, he gets crosses in. But he's just come back from injury, so he might not be capable of playing more than 60 minutes. Ollie Banks, who's the best Hollywood passer that we've got, he's been out. He wasn't fit for Friday, but I saw him on Sunday. But I saw him on Sunday, and he said he'd be fit for Friday, but he wouldn't be able to play 90 minutes.
How about Armando Dobra?
I'll be very surprised if he doesn't start. He picked up a groin injury 3 or 4 games ago, and came back in, and he'll be very awkward, particularly for Williams and Okagbue. He'll be the sort of player that they hate.
Well, I think we did well against him in the Walsall home game. Paddy Madden, is he injured?
He has been injured. He's generally been a substitute to Will Grigg. The initial thought at the start of the season was Madden would play in the number 10 role, but he picked up a pre-season injury against Sheffield United, as did half of our side, because he got kicked from pillar to post. And when he got back fit again, he was playing, coming on after an hour for Grigg. And then when Grigg was out, he played a few games, but then he picked up an injury over Christmas. Neither of them were available to Paul Cook. But he's a class act, but he's not had a run in the side. He's just not had a run in the side all season.
He's not likely to. He's not likely to feature then.
I'd be surprised.
You mentioned, Phil, that about the injuries, like Walsall, I've had to adapt quite a lot, really. I think our first choice back row would have Donovan Daniels and Priestley Farquhar, and they've both been out for the whole of the season. Jack Earing is a massive player for us when he's fit.
I loved him when he was at Halifax. He played quite a few games for Halifax.
And he struggled with that. And of course, people sort of talk about the numbers at Walsall. Walsall's average attendance has been rising. But of course, we're very close to Wolverhampton Wanderers, West Bromwich Albion, Birmingham City, Aston Villa. They're all very, very close. I know you've got sort of Nottingham not too far away from you, and Derby. But I mean, to have so many of those so close is such a challenge for supporters wise. So getting promoted is the one. And what's your prediction then?
Chesterfield will win. I'm pretty sure of that, but I'm not quite sure they'll win by two clear goals to get an extra time. I'm going to say Chesterfield will win 2-1, and it'll be 1-0 to Chesterfield, 1-1, 2-1.
Okay. I reckon I reckon goals galore, 2 apiece. Right
Yeah,
then.
well, let's say we don't win that often at Walsall. We don't win well ever at Walsall.
No.
But like I say, it's our golden jubilee, 50th match at Walsall, 50th away match at Walsall. Watch this space.
Chesterfield on a patch on the top 4, says Tony. Like MK Don's tippy tappy, but no thrust. And they do like
second highest scorers to Walsall. Second highest scorers in the division to Walsall. Most wins by 3 clear goals.
They've got the goals in, haven't they? Let's have a look. Like Phil said, where it's not much criticism. It's just a game management. Defending the lead isn't the strongest, but the wind in our sails and the teams can be overwhelmed, like Doncaster and Crewe. Yeah.
We won 5-0 at Crewe. Mind you, to be fair, that day, Simon, early in the season, Crewe were awful, absolutely awful. But a little bit like you were saying earlier on, it might have been us that made them look awful.
Yeah, but that's it. It's always about that, isn't it? It's always about that. It's about how well you're allowed.
And the thing with Donny, we won 3-0 at Donny. They had 2 men sent off, but the second one was very late. And we won 5-2 at home. At half time in the 5-2 home win, we were the second best side. But if we play a team that wants to play, we're in our element. Walsall want to stop you playing. That's what we struggle against.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe a sort of not the style of team that sort of brings the best out of them for you. And Walsall quite sort of decisive and incisive with their play, so they like to get the ball forward in key areas. And it's going to be a passionate one.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I think Walsall will probably just about get over the line. And then, what do you reckon? Wimbledon or Notts County? Who do you think's going to get through there?
Well, Wimbledon are hard to score against, especially at home. Jatta getting sent off. What an idiot! Now, if Jatta had still been there, I think it'd have been a flip of a coin. But Jatta not being there, it's got to be Wimbledon.
Yeah. Now, I think if we get to Wimbledon in the final, Wimbledon are difficult to score against, as you say, quite rightly. But on a much bigger pitch at Wembley, I think that could be their undoing. I think that could be their undoing.
Although it gives Stevens a bit more space, he's really good at coming through that inside left channel. I was very impressed with him, but I think if it's Walsall v Wimbledon, it'd be 0-0 and penalties.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Chesterfield
because the two will cancel each other out. They're both better defenders than attackers.
Yeah.
Even though you say about Walsall scoring a lot of goals, Walsall's strength to me is their defence. Against us anyway.
I was touting for Walsall to play that Evan Weir, left wing back on Sunday. He didn't get a shout. Liam Gordon had been looking tired, but I mean, he must have listened to me and sort of had some extra Weetabix or something. He was
he played really well.
And the other player who didn't even make the bench, there's DJ that people have mentioned, Danny Johnson, who's a natural goal scorer, and Ethan Wheatley is on loan from Manchester United. He would be an interesting player to bring on. Lots of pace, excellent finishing ability. So maybe he could be involved at some point. Yeah. I've been wrong.
Well, I think for sure the starting 11, Dobra will come in. I think Sparks will come in, and I think Duffy will come in. I think Duffy will go on the left wing, and Colclough play on the right. Dobra will play in the 10 role. I think Naylor might drop back into holding midfield instead of Metcalf, and then Banks coming in for Fleck. That would be my prediction to start, and that's to try and get on the front foot.
Alakig being dropped, then you reckon?
Yeah, he's really put his trust in Alakig over the last few weeks, and he's done pretty well. But I just think that early foul destroyed him a little bit when he got a yellow card, and he didn't function anywhere near as much as he can. Now bring him off the bench when there's a sniff, and I wouldn't want at that point. And he also prefers playing down the. We've got too many people who want to play down the left.
This is the thing.
So Dobra doesn't like playing down the right. Olakigbe doesn't like playing down the right.
When you've got a big squad, so I think obviously the size of your budget compared to Walsall's sort of affords you a much bigger squad. So it does bring its challenges. But right then, I look forward to Friday. You'll be there, no doubt.
Yeah, I'll be there. So yeah. I'm not saying I'm looking forward to it, but I'll be there.
It'll be fun. It'll be a fun game always, isn't it? Always.
Yeah, well, the best news of all, Simon, if it doesn't go our way, it's not a long journey home.
Well, that's it. Nice one. Brilliant.
You watch the A38 will be closed tomorrow night. Friday night. Yeah.
Cheers, Phil. Join the pack.